The time is now. They gon' love me for my ambition. Easy to dream a dream, but what's harder to live?
Hey y'all, welcome, man. Welcome to episode 10 of Ambitious Minds, man. Super excited. This has been a fun ride so far, man. And I think BD mentioned it last week. 10 pretty much is, next one is like 100.
Right.
Just that simple.
It's like 30 or what is it? 13. What is it? Freaky Friday. You're like 13 going on 30.
Oh, I'm like, where are you going with this?
Once you hit 10, the rest just fly by.
Exactly. No, man, but this is super exciting. I'm excited about our conversation tonight because we brought it up last week, but we're going to talk about the power of starting, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, man. So super excited. I've been gathering some thoughts throughout the week, just like, man, this is going to be a really good one. I think even just kind of talk about our journey, how we got to this part. Man, it's going to be just super duper cool. And, hopefully once again, just as always, add some value.
Man, I love it. This is like one of my favorite topics. So for real.
Yeah.
It's so entrepreneurship focused, like just starting, man, just out of your comfort zone, just doing it.
Yep. Yeah, man. But I mean, I guess let's kick off to a certain extent. I mean, I have to find that exact date, but I remember me and you were just playing catch up, and I think you were just finishing up or about to leave Planet, and we were just playing catch up, and we always go back and forth on what we're working on, and I remember telling you like, man, like I want to do a podcast, man. It's like, I want you to be involved. Like we need to do a podcast, blah blah, blah. And we just kind of let it simmer for a second, and then you were just like, okay, let's do it, do it. And for those that don't know, Ambitious Minds, kind of where that came from was when we worked at Planet. Man, I loved our team. Our team was just like super duper dope. We had a lot of great people, a lot of great leaders, but then we had a lot of great entrepreneurs. Shout out to Sam Bill. I know we mentioned him before. Tyler Johnson was working there. Seth Hawk and even Ronnie came through to a meeting at one time, and it was just, we started this group just called Ambitious Minds, where kind of like we tried to meet as often as possible till, maybe at the very least once a month, and just share ideas and kept each other accountable. I said accountable. It was just like so cool because it got like really in depth. And, I remember us going over to Sam Bill's apartment and packing up socks to be mailed the next day, and helping Tyler take pictures for modeling and stuff, man. It's just super cool to kind of bring it back and start something new, start something fresh, man. And like I said, for those that have been listening, this is kind of where this whole thing started from. Besides me and Brad just like loving people and want to add value, a lot of this simply just came from, man, we were already doing it, and now it's just like, okay, cool, how can we take it to the next level, build the community again?
Now we're doing it publicly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
What was it? Every Thursday night we'd get together, and whether it was coffee or something, man. But I loved it though, because it was such like we were accountability partners. Is really what it was. Because like nobody wanted to show up the next week without an update. Nobody wanted to show up empty-handed. You know what I mean? So you had to make sure you were doing something that whole week to have something to talk about. So it was good, man. It was good. I mean, it's a little bit different doing the podcast. We're talking about a variety of topics, whereas then it was just about our personal endeavors. But that's why I think this topic of just getting started is so exciting, because we've been there. I'm still there.
For sure. It is crazy that you said it, because actually one of the notes I took down that, and we could just dive in, but one of the notes I took down was, starting is an everyday thing. Once you decide to start every single day, you got to decide to start again.
Yep.
Every single day, right? You got to make a choice, because the thing is, once you start, right, the next day you can easily just give up. You can easily, you can easily stop everything. But every day you got to decide, like, okay, cool, let's start it again. Every day is a new start day. You know what I'm saying? So like, you know, when people are like, oh man, like I just had my first day at work or whatever, right? Every day is your first day.
Yep.
Every single day. Because you got to make the decision to go in, do it again, have the same great attitude, man, and remembering why you started. But yeah, man, it's an everyday thing, bro.
Yeah, man. I have a question. You know, because I was telling you before we started, like today was one of those days where it's just like autopilot. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And you know, when you're talking about starting and like staying motivated and continuing to stay on track, you know, for different endeavors and stuff, like, do you have anything that you do to like motivate you or give you a jump start if you're having one of those days?
Yeah, man. So a couple things. One, I think I mentioned on the podcast before, maybe when we were talking about mindset and you know where your focus was. But I remember like I used to be a big person, like life could always be worse type deal, right? But then Pastor Travis, he had told me one time, he said, people will pray to have the problems that you have,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so it's like when I think about like in leadership or I think about business overall, I'm just like, people wish they were having issues running their own business. They wish they had a business to run,
True.
right? And they don't. You know what I'm saying? So kind of as a blessing, like man, like you have something to run. It's just a hurdle for right now. Like you'll get through it. And man, I think that's what helped me out when I was working those long stretches when I was working for like almost those 2 months straight, man. It was just
Mhm.
like, all right, cool, keep pushing. Like somebody wished they had these different obstacles, right? And now this is just something that's going to continue to build on that.
Right.
But I think too, it's just somewhat remembering where I started, but just keeping the vision as clear as possible. And I think that one has been the hardest one for me because sometimes that can get cloudy when you're so worried about being busy and not worried about resting. And because part of rest is you get a chance to reflect and you get a chance to reorganize, or strategize. That's a huge part of the rest. And but I think, man, those are just a couple ways that I try to go ahead and stay energized because,
Mhm.
man, those days when they hit you, they hit you hard, man.
Bro, it's hard.
They hit you hard. What about you though, man? I mean, I know you took a nap today, but
I did.
what
Full
kept you going, bro?
disclosure, like a half hour ago, I was sleeping. So, yeah, no, honestly, I tried. I don't know if this might be weird, I guess, but uh, I try to get so freaking hyped, dude. Like, I
Yeah.
think back to like football mentality and like, man, I don't know how else to describe it, but like I try to get physically like hype. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I got two videos that I'll watch on repeat, bro, until I am just like out here like bouncing, like I can't stand it. And
What
I
two
just get like
videos?
so jacked. The first one is the it's in the locker room chants, the We Ready video.
Oh, yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Dude, oh my gosh, it gets me so hyped, man. And then I can just keep going. But and then the other one, this one I just recently found, but there's this hype video. I think it's on YouTube, but it's David and Goliath, and David standing there in front of Goliath, and he just yells, Goliath! And like it's such like a hype thing. I'm like, oh my goodness, dude. Like I could run through a wall right now. So like, I don't know. That's what I do every time though. For
Yeah.
real.
You got one, you got to put those, you got to include those links in this podcast.
Man, I will.
But it's funny though that you said like the We Ready thing because
Mhm.
like literally when I walk into one of my stores, I'm literally like, I imagine it being like the tunnel for like the NBA or an
Yes.
NFL or whatever, and I'm just like, I get how I'm just like, I just wish my team members would come to the
Mhm.
door and start high fiving me.
Mhm. Yep.
Um, you know,
Yep.
it's like COVID has definitely changed a lot of things because I remember, man, all the handshakes we used to have
Yeah.
at Planet, man, things
I
have
love
definitely
it.
changed though.
For real though, man. You're right. I mean, I think like I view entrepreneurship and I view business and I get just as hyped for that as I do for like a football game. I get just as hyped for
Mm,
that as I did before a basketball game in high school. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
I try to keep that same energy going. Music has a lot to do with it. Like if I'm going to a big showing or something, like I have a big deal that I'm working on, like bro, you best believe I'm jamming out in the car on my way there. Like I'm
Yep.
trying to get hype. Like I'm trying to get mentally like how do you word it? Athletes will understand what I'm talking about, but you try to get on that high, you know, like
Yeah.
before that game, you know what I mean? Like it's the same mentality, man. I love it. But
Yeah, man.
anyway, sorry, that was off topic.
No,
But
you
yeah,
know,
starting. So
no, I mean, for sure. I mean, there's so many different directions we can go into this. I mean, you talking about like starting your day, man.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like, I think starting your day, right? So, like, in order to start something, okay, start your day, right? What does your day look like? You know what I'm saying? I know that's one thing me and you talk about constantly. It's like, okay, what time should we wake up?
Mhm.
What's part of your daily routine, man? There's so many different directions that you can go in, but um, what do you? So let's kind of dive in some to what do you think people's biggest fears of starting? Like what stops people from starting, whether it's that business,
Mhm.
whether it is a podcast, whether it's a relationship, like what stops people?
Bro, I think it's always summed up into a handful of things, but I think it's always fear of failure, for one.
Mhm.
Failure is like such a killer, man, and because you're done before you even start. I would say the other thing would be the thought of the lack of available resources, um, money,
Mhm.
time. I think those are always some of the, you know, I don't want to say excuses because I know situations are different, but really those are some of the biggest excuses, most common excuses that you hear when somebody doesn't want to start. I mean, I think that goes for anything in life, not just starting a business or entrepreneurship, but if you're starting a weight loss journey, if you're starting a workout regimen, if you're starting a new job, like, it doesn't matter. All these same fears, all these same limiting beliefs are what's creeping in the back of your mind whenever you're starting a new venture. Um, so man, I don't know. I think what I think that's the first hurdle people face. Is
Mhm.
I have this business idea, I want to do it. I've seen people be successful in it. I've watched YouTube videos. I know I think I could do this, right? But then when it really gets down to it, they never start.
Yep.
They never start. And
Yep.
that right there is what separates those that are doing it and you.
Yeah.
It's literally just starting. It doesn't matter how you start. It doesn't matter what you do to start. It doesn't matter on what scale you start at. The point is that you start,
Yeah.
and you learn and you grow and you scale along the way. That's how you grow a business. It's not an overnight thing. We talked about this on an episode before where it's like we see these 17, 18-year-old millionaires on YouTube, right? And we were looking at that and it's like, shoot, I'm behind. No, no,
Yeah.
man, like that's not your journey. They may have started when they were 14, 15 years old. You don't see that.
Yep.
I mean, you're starting now. That's all that matters. It's the same thing in the weight room. If you're on a fitness journey, you're not comparing yourself to everybody else in the room. You're looking in the mirror. That's your competition. That's what you're competing with. It's the same thing with entrepreneurship and starting anything.
Yeah. No, it's funny that you said the fear of failure because I actually I think sometimes I've experienced the opposite of that. And I think a lot of people deal with this too is the fear of success, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think you get fearful of, man, shoot, what if this really does take off? What if this really does work? And it's like, okay, that's the whole purpose why you're doing it anyway. It's for it to work. It's for it to pay off. It's for you to become that full-time entrepreneur. But I think you worry about it because for some people, like myself, I've had, a good amount of family members that have, started side businesses or started businesses in general, but it wasn't a thing that I just saw every day.
Right.
Right. And so I think the mindset of, owning a business is like, okay, if it becomes successful, what do I do with it? You know what I'm saying? And then I think for me, then that's when the fear of failure shot comes in, is because man, if it becomes really successful, am I going to be able to handle it?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it's
Definitely.
like, man, that who doesn't want that problem?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm so successful. I'm not sure how I'm going to handle this, but because probably I'm so successful, I probably can hire somebody that can help me
Mm-hmm.
handle this, right? And that mean then we can get all into delegation, empowerment, things like that. But
Right.
I think that's a big one, man. I think people are afraid of what if this is a success,
Yeah.
you
No, it's
know?
true. That's anxiety, man. When you're
Yeah,
afraid of the future and like you're overthinking the future, that's anxiety.
yeah,
You know, man.
yeah,
I don't know. I guess and one thing I kind of thought would be cool on this topic was because you and I have started things before. is kind of like going through the different ventures that we both have started, and like what did the process look like, and what did starting look like for you, like really breaking it down, because I'm sure there's somebody out there that's thinking about doing a similar thing, and like being able to compare it to what your start looked like. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, for sure, man. Well, I guess, I started off with like ET's catering.
Hmm.
I think ET's catering literally came out of, once again, like I said, I love to cook. Um, but like, people enjoyed my cooking as well. And so it's okay, cool. Like, let's see what we can do with this, right? And I think I didn't take it as serious because, I didn't go through all of, oh, let's make this an LLC, X, Y, and Z. Because once again, I think in my mind, I was like, okay, well, this can't be that successful because I'm still in college. Like I still have college to finish. And man, that's a whole nother topic too. You know what I'm saying? I know we kind of touched on that, but um, man, I think it was just, it was cool in getting started. Honestly, I'm trying to remember the first event or gig that I did. I don't remember, but it's like once it happened, the word kind of got out there and I started doing some other things. Like I did a tailgate at CMU one time. I did a wedding, and like I say, it was literally just one thing. Like I just had to get started.
Right.
Now that one was a little more self-motivated because I knew what I was doing, as in I knew how to cook,
Right.
right? So that one was a little self-motivating, but I think when I moved into like Product of Grace, that one was harder for me because only thing I knew about retail is whatever I learned at Target, right? But they don't really teach you, well, at least from what I experienced, I didn't experience getting to teach merchandising, what I'm saying, how to price things and things like that. And so that one was hard. And I literally remember you and Christopher would just get tired of me talking about it and just like, bro, just do it. Just make the shirts. Like, what I'm saying? I had the logo, I had the design, I had Cam, working on stuff for me or whatever. So I had the stuff. It was literally at that point just getting the shirts printed,
Hmm.
paying for them. I had the money, pay for it, see if you can sell them.
Yeah.
You don't sell them, what's the worst that happen? You give out the t-shirts for free and you spread some hope that way. All right, cool, great.
Hmm.
I believed in the message. I knew the message. I think the part I was worried about was one, and this is the issue with starting, is I think you try to get certain people's approval.
Mm. Yeah.
Right. I remember sending my t-shirt designs to a couple of some of my mentees and stuff, whatever, because I wanted to touch all age demographics. So I sent it to a couple of my mentees. So like, hey, would you rock this? Because I'm like, I probably consider them to be, fashionable people or people that people like, oh man, I want that, I want to wear that. And they were just like, no, not really. I wouldn't wear that. And I remember like that sense of defeat of just like, dang, like these ain't gonna sell.
Hmm.
Right. And that's off of like two people's opinion.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just like, okay. And even right then and there, that stopped me from second from starting. And I'm just like, it kind of set me back because I'm just like, oh shoot, maybe I need to redo the design. Maybe I need to add some more color in there. Maybe I need to make it more maybe I need to make it more hip. Maybe I just take off the scripture off the back. Like, what should I do? Like maybe it's too churchy. I don't know. It
Hmm.
was like just start, right?
Yeah.
And so, started it, and it never grew how I believe it could have. But I also say, I'll take credit in that too of me not intentionally putting marketing behind it, and different things like that. And now all that stuff I'm learning. And so, next business venture, or if we bring those back, so okay, cool. I'm gonna handle it differently, right? Um, and I think there's something to be said about that as, once you start, if it doesn't go well the first time, you can start again,
Right.
and continue to start again and start again, start again. I think the issue that we run into is we try to start too many businesses until one catches.
Hmm.
And it's like the issue is you keep starting because you're looking for a certain, money amount to hit. You're looking for a certain thing. And the whole reason why I started Product of Grace was to create impact, was to spread hope to people. And so at some point I must have lost sight of that because I started worrying about, okay, people ain't buying the shirts. Okay, cool. So maybe we switch gears a little bit. Maybe we focus on community engagement. Maybe we just volunteer in soup kitchens or, with youth groups, and just start that way. So
Right. Well, and real quick, if you don't mind, I'll stop you right there because I think you just made an awesome point because that's the difference between selling a product and building a brand.
mm,
You know what I'm
mm-hmm,
saying? Like what you just described is the difference between selling a product and building a brand. Your brand has vision, your brand has meaning, and that's what you're pursuing, that's what you're building. The product is just the product is a byproduct of the brand that you're building. You know what I
yep.
mean? The product doesn't define the brand. So, man, I agree with you though. I think that's a good point.
Yeah, man. So, man, that's kind of how, like, my business ventures have went. Um, and I've learned so much from them, man. You know what I'm saying? I think the biggest thing is, my risk tolerance has went up a little bit. I think it went down again some so as we had Emory.
Mm.
Because I'm just like, this is affected more than just me and Cam. It's a little different when both of us both of us are working full time, making good money. It's a little different. Um, but no, man, I think now it's just one of those things where it's like I do try to move differently. I try to move a little more strategically. But I do need to get back in the risk business of taking a risk and just see how it goes, not doing anything stupid. I think that's the biggest thing too, is like, when something's stupid,
Yep.
what I'm saying, when you're doing something that if it turns out bad, you either wasted everything. Yeah, you might not should do that unless you're single. Okay.
Yeah. No, and I think let's touch on that for a second though, man, because that's a good point
Yeah.
too. Like, for a listener that doesn't exactly know what you mean, like, how would you break that down for like, it's stupid. How do you know what endeavors are good ones to pursue and what ones aren't?
Yeah, I think one doesn't really match what the impact you're trying to make, right? So like everything has to align as in, okay, what is the reason for me starting this? Does this make sense, right? Or is this a get rich scheme,
Hmm.
right? Because I think when you look at impact versus trying to make money, um, you're more willing. It's better for you to take the risk on the impact because at the end of the day, even if the money doesn't return how you want it to, there's a high possibility that maybe you still made an impact, right? Um, but when it's money focused, right, a lot of money focused things takes a lot of money, right? And so when you put a lot of money down, you're gambling a lot. And I think you think about simple things that it all depends on how you grew up, right? If you're a hustler, right, you know from the start as in, okay, I can make this money come back, right? Now that's how my mindset used to be because I'm like, okay, cool. If I lose a little bit of money, I know I can try to get a second job. I know I can do this, whatever. But my values have now changed some where family is such a huge priority for me because I have more of an immediate family now with having Emory as well. So now it's the three of us. That's like, okay, cool. Even though I probably could take this risk and I probably can get some money back, what is that going to cost? How much time is that going to cost me away from my family that I already am taking away?
Hmm.
Right. And so I think you have to think through those lenses of, okay, is this going to take more away from me than it's great? Like, what's your return on investment?
Hmm.
Right? Even if you lost, could you still get a return? Because I think people forget about that is you can still get a return on your investment, even if you lose the investment. And the return on investment is hopefully the impact that it made. It maybe didn't make the money, but it made an actual impact, right?
Hmm.
And so I think if you think about it through that lens, I hope that makes sense. But I think if you think of it through that lens, it's like, okay, this is willing to take the risk. This is, for anybody that likes sports betting, whatever, hey, that's your thing, right? But for me, the reason why that's stupid is because I'm betting on somebody else, right? I want to put myself in a position when I'm betting on myself. Now, if I'm swinging the bat, I ain't betting at all because I ain't gonna hit it. let's call it what it is. I ain't gonna hit the ball. I'm gonna get striked out. I bet on me getting striked out, but you probably already betted on that too. So, I think you got to control that too. Like, where are you trying to invest? Where are you trying to start at? Because if you're starting on something that you have very little control over, it's like I don't know. You really have to have trust with whatever you're doing. And I don't trust nobody that much except for God, Cam, and Emery, and you, and some of my family. To just be able to be like, oh, okay, cool. Here, this is what I'm gonna give you. Let's go for it. So yeah, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Man,
go through yours, man.
yeah, definitely. So I guess, starting with photography. So similar to you, it started just as a hobby. It started as something that I just wanted to do. I can't say I was necessarily good at it yet, like you were with cooking, but it was something that I wanted to learn. It's something that I wanted to try. So, and I think I mentioned this before, but I spent my tax return one year on a nice DSLR camera. And I was like, now I have one, and we'll see what happens with it. At first, it was just for personal use, like for traveling and different trips and family and stuff. Like I just wanted to have one. But then, Tyler, who was my roommate at the time, got into modeling at the same time that I got that. So I was like, shoot, man, like let me practice. Like you can practice posing, you can practice what you need to do. I'll practice what I need to do. And together, like we put in so many hours, but we loved it because we were honing in, we were perfecting our craft, and we were investing in ourselves and in our business to grow and develop in that area. So I very much so took like the Gary V standpoint when I was starting out, and I did so many free shoots, and I was like, hey, like let's do a shoot for free. You'll get all the edits, just allow me to use it for like marketing, just this is practice for me. And as I continue to do that and I'm putting out content, I'm marketing a little bit, just like this is my work, and then you start getting messages, hey, love your work, how much do you charge for a shoot? And then from there I was like, oh shoot,
$1 million.
$1 million. Yeah, I was like, here we go. Like I remember like my first paid shoot, like it's exciting, man. It is. And if you go through all these anxieties, like what do I charge? Like I'm not real, like I'm not legit, like they don't know. But I remember you worked with me through that. It's like you have to eliminate that mindset, and you have to understand, like, don't, and no disrespect, don't put amateur anything in your Instagram bio. Don't put in there amateur photographer, amateur video. No, like
you're gonna get amateur pay,
right? You're a photographer or you're a videographer or whatever it is that you're doing. That's what you are. Don't put amateur in front of it. Don't limit yourself. So what if you just started? There's people that started 6 months ago and are maybe quote unquote better than somebody that started 5 years ago. It doesn't matter. You are what you're pursuing. You are your profession. So from there, man, it just scales though, and one page shoot leads to another page shoot. People talk, word of mouth. You're continuing to market yourself. I would sprinkle in free shoots here and there after that too, just friends and family and stuff, and continue to use that to market. And as you're growing your clientele, you're growing your business, your prices kind of reflect and change with that. I remember my first wedding, bro, like I should have brought 2-3 shirts with me because I was sweating bullets, man. I was sweating so bad.
Wasn't it outside?
Yeah, dude, it was. And I was feeling it, and it was very hot that day too. Man, but no, for real, like it's so uncomfortable in like physically and mentally, but like being out of your comfort zone like that's exactly where you need to be, especially as you're growing and scaling your business. If you're uncomfortable in your business, it's good because it means you're growing. And as you grow, your capacity to grow increases as well. So it's continuing to put yourself outside of that box. And that's where you need to be. But so photography, that was my first kind of venture that was more entrepreneurial, that was legit. I would say that was like, I really stuck with it and pursued it.
Yeah.
After that, it was e-commerce. So Tree Stand Brews was a brand that I started. It was all based online, and actually it started as, for the OGs that remember this, it started as Tree Stand Views, and what it was just an Instagram community, and I was basically a reposting page. So I would, ask people to use my hashtag Tree Stand Views in their hunting photos, and then I would ask permission to repost it on my page. People liked the recognition. People, it started to build a community. People would comment on their photo. It was like, and that's what I wanted. I wanted to grow a community and just kind of foster it up. My first intent with it was to scale it, and get a massive amount of followers so then I could do like paid ads and stuff like that. If companies asked me to, promote their products for money, and I was going to monetize it that way. But then as I was doing it, I was like, man, it's kind of compounding when you're growing a page like that. But it took so long. It took so long, and I was getting super impatient. And I was like, this isn't really doing it for me. Like it's ever since I started, I was like, I want to provide a product too. Like I was like, maybe I'll start doing clothing for tree stand views because we're starting the community already. So maybe people will start to want some brand recognition and wear a sweatshirt that says it. So that's what I did. So I tried it out, got on Shopify. It's like $30 a month, and there's so many different plugins. um, you just build out the website, you just do it, it's just trial and error. And you do a lot of YouTube University, consult with people that maybe have done it before you and I would talk.
Yeah.
And it was very different. um, I would say intense with the clothing that I was putting out and the clothing that you were putting out, because that's what you were doing. For me, it was more the community side. I drop shipped it. I did not ever see the clothing. It was just printed and shipped right to the customer, right?
Yeah.
I didn't do anything. I was a middleman when it came to that. And I was okay with that because that's not what my brand was based around. You know what I mean? So it didn't matter to me that much. But then eventually got to a point where I was like, okay, it was really cool to kind of see some people wear the sweatshirts around. How can I take this next step? I love coffee. So I was like, you know what? We're going to rebrand it. We're going to change it. I'm going to keep the original followers. It's still in the same industry, still in the same niche, and let's do tree stand brews. So through the same Shopify account, I found a coffee bean supplier, and it's the same thing. You just build it out, trial and error. And then like that was the first venture that I did that like I was actually having a reach domestically, like across America. Like I had some partnership deals with some guys over in Texas. I would send them coffee, they would promote the product. I sponsored their show. So like on their YouTube channel, on their show, like my logo would come up as a sponsor. um I've never really, I don't really talk about this part a whole lot because I don't know, it's just weird, but it actually is scaled to a point where I was reached out to by um what's the name of it, the Outdoor Channel. And it was the sister company of it, and it was based out of Canada. And they asked if I would like to partner and be a sponsor for their actual TV series. And it was going to have exposure to, I think it was like 23 million people on average. And it was just absolutely nuts, man. And being a part of those phone calls, bro, like, and just kind of explaining to you right now, just like how this started to then being on the phone, get his name, being on the phone with the brand deal guy for the Outdoor Channel. And he's like, yeah, like, what's your team like, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, it's just me. Like, man, and like being a part of that phone conversation, talk about being out of your comfort zone. I mean, this guy's dealing with multi-million-dollar deals, and here I am, in northern Michigan, drop shipping coffee. And I guess to finish that story, I wasn't able to pursue it at the time because the supplier that I had for coffee was not able to ship internationally. It's going to cost me like $25 shipping just to get it across the border. I couldn't find a workaround in time for the deal to go through. So unfortunately I had to back out. But the fact that it was an opportunity, the fact that it came up, and what was it, Eris, like within 2 years? I mean, it was like nuts, dude. Like if somebody was to stick with it, like that's within 2 years. What? Like that's just from starting a freaking reposting community page into that. Like it's the potential's there. It's just the people got to do it. It's just doing it and being consistent and sticking with it. But man, like it's crazy, man. It really is crazy. But yeah, I'd say now I'm kind of transitioning into real estate and starting this and taking that leap from Planet, being 100% self-employed. It was it was it was tough. It was tough. I would say the thought process going through it was a little bit different for me because I kind of went into it with the mindset of there is no other option. This is not going to fail because I can't and I won't let it. There is no other option.
Yeah.
In my head, not saying that this is true, but in my head, I burned all other bridges. This is it. Like I told myself when I left Planet, I would never go back to working a 9 to 5 job again because I want to eliminate and get rid of all of those bridges because if I know if I kept it in the back of my head, like things are getting tough, things are getting hard. Like maybe I just go get a part-time job. No, man, because that's 24 hours, 20 hours a week that I'm missing that I should be investing back in my business.
Yep.
There is no other option. I mean, you talk about that We Ready video, man. Like that's the mentality you got to have, though. It's cutthroat. Like if this is what you want, you got to do it. You got to go for it. Risk tolerance has to be there, and then, but like you said, don't be stupid. Don't be ignorant to your situation either. Be understanding. Like if you don't think I've been on a beans and rice diet, you're wrong. You know what I mean? Like especially doing this transition right away. I didn't know when my next paycheck was going to be. I went 3 months without getting paid. 3 months. Now, luckily, I had prepared beforehand, so I had enough put away for that. But what if I didn't, man? And I'm not saying it was comfortable because it wasn't, but at least I could live. But man, like that pushes you, that tests you, and you start to question, like, did I make the right choices? The housing economy right now is nuts. Like maybe I should do it a different time. Like all these limiting beliefs, all these things start creeping in the back of your head. And like you said, like every day you got to wake up and you have to win here and before you can pursue anything. So man, it's been a wild journey. I'll tell you what, man, I'm so hyped though, because I have a few other endeavors in mind right now that I'm currently working on that I cannot wait to share once I get it off the ground. So man, like it's long days right now because of it, but it is so exciting. I cannot wait. Absolutely. So of course, I don't want to share too much yet, but I think once I start it and get it going and it's established, like talking about it on here and being able to, explain what it is that I'm doing and how it's, bring the viewers with us type of thing. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm excited, man. All good things.
Yeah, man. No, I said it's absolutely crazy. And I think the biggest thing, like you said, man, just you have to do it. But that's part of, you have to be ready, right? And it's okay if you're not. It's definitely cool if you're not, but you have to be ready. Realize that's going to come with ups and downs. There's very few businesses that have started off and just went like, it just skyrocket. It's very few businesses like that. And I think, but what social media and stuff has done is shown instant gratification, because if you can put out one good video, put out one good song, one good t-shirt, man, it might take you everywhere, right? And so I think that's another thing too, is that we spent so much time working on this one thing where you could have put out thousands of videos and now had millions of followers, but instead you start focus on, okay, well, this person did this, so I should do a little different than this. And this person did this. Man, do you know how many people have a podcast? And that was one of my struggles too. It's like so many people have podcasts. So many people are talking about entrepreneurship, business, or whatnot. Cool, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like we will eventually have our tribe of people. And even if we're not number one on the charts, which we will be one day. But even if we aren't, you know what I'm saying? It's one of those things where it's just like we started this to add value and have an impact. Right. And so, we will die on that. We'll die on that sword and continue to do that, knowing that at the end of the day, what's supposed to happen is going to happen. I wanted to mention something because a lot of people said this, and I heard you mention this too. You said it's not about how you start, and a lot of people end that by saying it's not how you start, it's how you finish, right? And I disagree. And the only thing I disagree with is not, to a certain extent, it's not how you start, but it should never be how you finish, because you should never finish. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter how you start, but it's how you develop, it's how you grow, it's how you strategize, it's how you scale.
Yeah.
That's what's important, is because I think if you keep that in mind, right, then you don't mind starting wherever you're at.
Right.
And I think that's the issue is people aren't intentional about okay, if this looks like this, okay, what do I do then? Now, I'm not saying you should have all those ducks in a line before you actually start. Don't do that. But well, you can if you want to, but you don't have to. Um, but I think that's the thing, man. It's like, okay, once it's up and going, right? Because say it does take off, I think that's even the harder time for you is because you take off, people's expectations go really high. You
Yeah.
know, it's funny. Just random. I thought about this, but like I think about like chicken places. I told people, it's a chicken shortage, right now, whatever. But I was like, man, where I grew up, you roll up into KFC, churches, Popeyes, and they tell you we ain't got nothing besides left, and it's like 5 p.m. and it's just
Yeah.
like, bro, my expectation of you is, I mean, one, it's not really that high because you are you supposed to sell is chicken, but I'm just like the expectation goes up. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying? So it's like if you have a good product, right, the expectation goes up. And so when what I'm saying, when you are successful, it's like, okay, cool. Like it's good and it's nice, but don't be so happy about being successful so quickly
Mm-hmm.
because if you don't have a plan on how you're going to continue to scale, how you're going to strategize, depending on your product or depending on what you're releasing, right? People can get tired of you just just
Yeah.
like that. We live in the cancel you culture,
Mm-hmm.
where people will cancel you in a hot second if
Yeah.
you don't continue to follow through.
Well, that's so true. I remember when I was having like the e-commerce stuff, and a lot of these people that were building out these drop shipping websites and businesses because they were doing it around products that were trending at the time. So like for a long time when I was first getting into it, the first trending item that was super hot was those lion bracelets they used to see on ads for all the time. It was like the men's bracelets with the lion head on
Yeah,
it. Yeah. So, man, you get those on AliExpress for like 13, 15 cents. And then you see them on their e-commerce dropship website for $15. I mean, that markup in profit margin is absolutely nuts, but they could do it because the product was hot. And then it went into fidget spinners. And then it went, and it's the next product.
yeah,
But those that kept selling the Lions bracelets today, ask them how their business is doing.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's probably not doing that well. And that's exactly the same point. Like, if you're building a business, if your point is to stay with the trend, then you have to stay with it.
Yeah, man. That's why I
Right.
hate trends. I'd rather create them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
you can only ride the wave so long.
Right. I remember you and I had that conversation too because I saw it as such an opportunity to literally just make money because
Yeah.
it's hot. You see the success with it. Now, I do believe that by the time you're already seeing it be successful, it's too late.
Yeah.
You have to be, when you're riding the trends, you have to be some of the first, and you have to have a brand that's already established to hit your already established base market. You know what I mean? If you don't have that, it's tough. But I agree with you. That sounds exhausting. I don't want to be building on a new website every month to stay with the trends. I want to be able to be building a brand about something that I'm passionate about and that I believe in, and then attracting my tribe, attracting my group uh, around the brand because of what it is, you know?
Yeah, man. No, like I said, it's absolutely crazy, man. Because, like I said, you think about all those things: the fear of failing, fear of success, fear of. I think another one I'll put down too is fear of perfection.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You think you got to be perfect, and I know we kind of covered that already, man. Like, just start. You know what I'm saying? Like none of the people were perfect, and the people that wait till they get perfect, by the time you start, it's too late.
Right.
You know what I'm
Yep.
saying?
Like,
People, there's something about people seeing you go through the struggle. There's something about people seeing you not perfect. That's where you get the buy-in,
mm-hmm.
right? I know we talked about this, and I've been trying to count my each episode to see. I just said it already, to see how well I've been doing, and it's gotten somewhat better. But at the same time, like I said, this is who I am, right? Doesn't mean I won't grow. Doesn't mean I won't develop. Doesn't mean I won't possibly take, speeches, speech classes one day or something like that. But people enjoy seeing that process because it's something that they can relate to,
Right.
right? If they only see when now you're making millions of dollars and that's all you post on Instagram, okay, and then you want to hit them with, let me show you how. And it's like, okay, I rather would have seen the how. And even like I said, I think the intention of constantly growing and developing. I was talking to my boss today about self-development. I think that's one thing that we get trapped in. When you start a business, you have to constantly be in a self-development business as well. You have to constantly be self-developing yourself. Because if you're not, what happens is that's why people can't give away stuff for free, or they scared to give away things for free. Where it's just like that's what I told you. That's what I hate about funnels. The things that things that I know that you were on for a second. The only thing I hate about them is just this. It's like, don't try to trick me into going on the page. Let me know. Let me see if it's really value. Because just because you show me a house and be like, oh, I've had this many followers, or look at my crib, or I brought in $2 million last year. Let me tell you how. Well, just tell me how, and let me see if that has value enough, right? Because then you get stuck on the same videos, people buying the same video over and over, and not to say that it's bad for anybody, but that's always the issue I have, because to me, I'm just like, okay, you're making so much money off of this one video, but how much more money could you be making if you were constantly developing yourself and producing more content, or you were constantly developing and creating more products or shirts, whatever that is. I think that's the two thing. Like I said, people try to find a one hit wonder thing and try to capitalize on that so much, man. It's just like, if that's the reason why you're starting, once again, what's your reason for starting? What's your why?
Yeah.
To start with a why. What was it? I think it's Greg Cagle. He talks about start with what. And you can go back and forth on that. I see both sides, but I'm definitely a big start with a why. Because if you don't know why you're starting and you know what you're doing or whatever, sometimes that what could get really in the way, because you might be really good at selling a what and forget about the why. And so as soon as things get hard, once again, you quit. So
yeah, I agree, man. I think to your point, like it's a healthy balance of both of what you're talking about, because I think especially when you're starting, it's important to leverage the things that you have, but it's not but you don't want to get hung up on it either. You don't want to limit yourself and stop there just because you start to see success. You know what I mean? Like I've seen really bad funnels and I've seen really good funnels, and the really good ones are the ones where you watch their first video and you're like, wow, I actually learned something. I can apply some of these things and I see value in it. Maybe this is worth checking out. But then to your point, I've seen a lot of bad ones where it's like you click on it in their hook, right, that they call it, the first landing page to get you on their website, it's nothing, and you watch. I just wasted a half hour watching a video of them talking in circles and not giving me any substance, not giving me any value. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to buy your course because
don't waste my time
anything from you. You know what I mean? So I think the good ones are the ones that do provide value, the first one, because you're earning trust. You're establishing your reputation. You're establishing what it is that you have to offer off the get-go. That's the whole purpose of a hook, is for people to, it's an introduction. You know what I mean? And then you can then feed them into whatever else that you want to either sell or promote or whatever it is that you're doing. But I think your chances and your ROI and your conversion rate is going to be a lot higher then, because you've already provided value from the first video. But man, I don't know. I think, thinking back to a lot of the endeavors that I started and like the limiting beliefs that I had, man, if there's anybody listening right now, like I think if there's one challenge we could give you, is this week, go on, think about whatever it is that you want to start, whatever it is that you want to pursue. And for one, think of a business name. Don't think too hard on it, because you can always change it. You can always change it. But think of a business name, create your email account for that business, ET's catering at gmail.com, fallvisuals at gmail.com. It's that easy. Go create your I'm not promoting Gmail, whatever you want, unless they want to pay
Email
me.
is easy.
Right. But go make your business email for it. And then once you have your business email, go create all of the social platforms that you're going to need for it. Boom. That right there, if you did all that in this week, you just started. And now you've built a foundation. You've got your platforms now that you need to really get things going. And now you take it to the next step. So I would say, by the time you watch next week's video on Thursday, if you go and do those things, man, and you continue to set goals like that each week, you're starting. And if you need different ideas from Eris and I, like what's next or what should I do next, shoot us a message. Let us know. We'll help guide whatever it is that we know. We'll help you out. But just do it. Just try it out. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, and push come to shove. I know Brad said, reach out to us. Reach out to us, and if we don't have the answer, once again, we're big on resources, man. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying like we deep in resources, but we do know a lot of people that love helping people and love, being a resource to people, man. So for sure. And I think, what you just said, Brad, is perfect. And the adrenaline that you feel at that moment, you got to keep that adrenaline going, because then it's, how do I keep this adrenaline going? How do I not let this die? Because the moment that you let it die, then that's when all of it goes out. And now you just got, I run into these people that, have 5 different emails for 5 different businesses they want to start, focus on one, right? Focus on the season that you're in right now. And I know Pastor Travis talked about that. I think Pastor Travis gets brought up like every episode. He's going to start asking for royalty checks. But we got to, make sure that you keep that adrenaline going. Keep it going, man. You let that die, man. You get so distracted. And it's like, then you start overthinking. Right. It's like sometimes like you just got to keep going. You got to keep going, because the difference is, I think some people, they want it to be like a roller coaster ride, right? And when you're on a roller coaster ride and you can't get off, you have no choice but to go through it. Man. You know what I'm saying? This ain't no roller coaster ride. It's a roller coaster as an emotions, there's things like that, and those things, you can't get off of. But the actual starting piece, that's literally you climbing a ladder and going to new heights. It's not you being trapped into something and everything, whatever. Because when you're trapped into something, it's a little easier to go through it, right? Because you don't have no choice, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You got choices to get off, right? All right, cool. Maybe it's not for you.
If you get off on the roller coaster too, it's dead. You're dead, man. Like, no, but for real, what's that quote? It's like, when you start, you create positive momentum, and the moment that you stop, you're not stagnant. It doesn't just stop, but you're now creating negative momentum. Think about it as if it's a constant uphill battle, and when you start, you're creating forward momentum, you're creating forward motion. But when you stop, the ball's not just going to sit there, the boulder's not just going to sit there, you're going to start to come back. So think about that every time that you get hung up and you're like, oh, maybe this isn't it. Like, keep that forward momentum going, keep that adrenaline.
Imagine being at Cedar Point where everybody wanted to get on the dragster, and it only makes it halfway up. And even you get stuck where it goes back down.
Oh, shoot, man. That's why I don't do roller coasters.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly, man. But man, I loved talking about this, man. Episode 10, bro. This is crazy. Guys, man, I tell you guys every week, subscribe, share. Man, get this out to people. Like I said, even if it wasn't for you, it might be for somebody else that you know. And that's the whole purpose of this, is to add value through some relevant topics, give you guys some reliable information. This is stuff that we've lived, and although we're not perfect, and I think that makes it even better, is because we're not millionaires yet, right? But I think that's what makes it even better, is because we're still having our successes, but we're also still having our failures at the same time, and we're gonna get that all to you. So super excited, man. Yeah, man.
That's right. Episode 10, man. There we go.
10. Hey, y'all. See y'all next week. Until then, start something. Start something. Even if it's not a business, if it's a routine, working out or whatever, start something today. All right. Well, yes, today, because you'll see this on, earlier in the day. But start today, man. Do something. Get out there, get uncomfortable, man, and start something.
I love it. Episode 10.
Peace.
Ambition is priceless. It's something that's in your veins. And I put that on my name. They gon' love me for my ambition.